My mother texted me at 8:43 that night. The words glowed on the screen. "You're just jealous and broke. Don't ruin my evening again." I read it once. Then I read it a second time. I set my phone down on the desk. It landed right next to a stack of her unpaid bills. The bills I was supposed to pay. I stared at the phone. The screen went dark. And something inside me finally stopped. It didn't break. It didn't snap. It just finished. My name is Ava. For my entire life, I have been the responsible one. I was the fixer, the family accountant. I was the invisible support holding everyone else up. My family didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as a utility. I was useful, not human. I looked at her message again. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even shaking. I just felt calm. My apartment was quiet. The city lights flickered outside my window. For the first time, my silence wasn't weakness. It was a decision. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, where in the world are you watching from? That text message wasn't an accident. It was a summary. It was the result of 29 years of training. My family didn't just become this way. They were built this way, and I was a key part. I was the foundation, the part you never see, but the part that holds the whole thing up. My mother, Diana, was the architect. Her entire life was about appearances. I remember our house growing up. It was beautiful. It was also cold. The furniture was light beige. The carpets were white. We were not allowed to have drinks in the living room. We were not allowed to sit on the beds after they were made. My mother didn't clean the house. She curated it. She would walk through a room and just look. Her eyes would find the one thing that was wrong. A pillow chopped at the wrong angle. A fingerprint on the glass coffee table. A shoe left by the door. She was always smiling, but her smiles were for other people. For the neighbors. For her friends at the country club. For the parents at school. At home, her face was tight. She was always stressed. Stressed about the mortgage. Stressed about the lawn. Stressed about what people thought. Her voice was a weapon. I learned to listen to the sound of it, not the words. When she spoke to my little sister, Chloe, her voice was high and soft. Like music. "Chloe, sweetie, look at this lovely dress I found you." "Oh, Chloe, your hair is just golden." When she spoke to me, her voice was flat, efficient. "Ava, napkins." "Ava, clear the table." "Ava, don't drag your feet." Chloe was the showpiece. She was born smiling. She had blonde hair and blue eyes just like my mother. She was the one Mom dressed in matching outfits. She was the one who got the applause for doing nothing. I remember one afternoon, Chloe knocked over a heavy glass vase. It shattered on the tile floor. Water and glass went everywhere. I was in the next room doing homework. My mother screamed. I ran in. Chloe was already crying. My mother rushed to her, not the mess. "Oh, honey, are you okay? Did the glass scare you?" Then her eyes turned to me. "Ava, why was this vase so close to the edge?" "You know better." I hadn't touched the vase. I said, "I didn't." "Just clean it up," she snapped. "And be quiet, you're upsetting your sister." So I got the dustpan. Chloe got a cookie and a hug. I got to pick glass out of the grout. I was 8 years old. I learned my lesson. It doesn't matter who makes the mess. It only matters who is expected to clean it up. That was my job. I was the reliable one. My father, Ray, was the ghost. He was a good man, I think, but he was quiet. He hated conflict. He thought if you ignored a problem, it would go away. He would come home from work, kiss my mother on the cheek, and disappear behind the newspaper or into the garage. He let my mother run the world. He let her be the boss and the judge and the jury. His silence was his choice. It kept him in the clear. It kept my mother's anger away from him. But it left me and Chloe in the line of fire. Chloe learned to charm her way out. I learned to be useful. "Ava, can you help me with these numbers?" My mother would say, rubbing her temples. "Your father is useless with this." I was 15. It was the mortgage statement. She was confused by the interest. I sat down. I had a calculator. I explained it. "It's just math, Mom." She smiled. It was a real smile. A smile of relief. "Oh, Ava, you're so smart. You're a lifesaver." That smile was everything. It was warmth. It was approval. It felt like love. So I kept doing it. I took over the checkbook. I learned how to budget their money. I balanced their accounts. By the time I was in high school, I was the one making sure the electricity bill was paid. I was the one telling my parents they couldn't afford a new car. They called me the little accountant. They said it with pride. Ava handles all of that. She's just so good at it. I thought being good at it meant I was loved. I mistook responsibility for affection. I spent my entire childhood trying to earn warmth. I thought if I was responsible enough, if I was reliable enough, if I fixed all the problems, then one day they would finally see me. They would finally be proud of me, not just my skills. But they didn't. They just saw the fix. They saw the balanced checkbook. They saw the clean slate. When they looked at Chloe, they saw a daughter. When they looked at me, they saw a solution. This was the family I grew up in, a family of roles. My mother was the queen. My father was the ghost. My sister was the princess. And I was the help. That role didn't stop when I got my own apartment. It just got more expensive. By the time I was in my 20s, my life wasn't my own. It was a spreadsheet. I'm an accountant. I like numbers. Numbers are clean. They don't lie. You add them up and they give you an answer. My family, they were all lies. And my job was to make their lies add up. It started small. It always does. Ava, honey, my mother called me. I was 23. I had just gotten my first real job. I was so proud of my first paycheck. We're all going to be on one phone plan. It's just so much cheaper. You're so good at organizing, can you set it up? We'll all pay you our part. So I set it up. In my name, under my credit. They never paid their part. Not once, I would ask. Chloe would say, "Oh, I forgot. I'll get you next time." My parents would say, "Just add it to the list, honey. We'll settle up." The list became my life. The list was a bottomless pit. A year later, another call. "Ava, sweetie, there's a letter here from the county." It looks scary. It says delinquent. I thought your father paid the property taxes. I drove over. He hadn't. They were 3 months behind. They were going to lose the house. My mother was crying. "We can't lose the house, Ava. This is our home." What could I do? I drained my savings. I paid the taxes. My mother hugged me. "You are our little guardian angel," she whispered. I remember thinking, angels don't get to live their own lives. They just serve. The outline was right. Angels don't retire. They burn out. My salary went up. I got a promotion. I was good at my job. But my bank account never changed. It was a revolving door. My money came in and it went right back out. It went to them. Chloe decided to go to college. A good one. An expensive one. Mom and Dad said they would help, but the financial aid is messed up, she texted me. "Can you cover this semester? Just until Mom can transfer the money?" I knew the transfer was never coming. I knew messed up meant they didn't apply, but I paid it. I took out a small loan. I told myself it was an investment in her future. I paid for my dad's prescriptions. He would get flustered at the pharmacy. "Ray, this card is declined," the pharmacist would say. I was there with him one day. He looked so embarrassed. So I stepped in. "It's fine. Just put it on my card. I'll sort it out with Mom." I never sorted it out. It just became another bill I paid. The mortgage. The utilities. Chloe's tuition. Their phone plan. Their emergency credit card. All in my name. My independence wasn't a source of pride for them. It was a source of entitlement. I wasn't their successful daughter. I was their unlimited credit line. The thanks I got? "You're just so good with money, Ava." They said it like it was a magic trick. Like I didn't work for it. Like I didn't sacrifice for it. I didn't take vacations. I drove a 10-year-old car. I wore practical clothes. I ate leftovers. Every dollar I saved they saw as extra. And they felt they had a right to it. The breaking point should have come last year. It didn't, but it should have. My old car started making a terrible noise. A grinding metallic sound. I took it to the mechanic. He put it up on the lift. He came back into the waiting room, wiping his hands on a rag. "Ma'am, your transmission is shot." My stomach dropped. "How much?" "To fix it right, you're looking at about $3,000. $3,000. I didn't have it. I had just paid for Chloe's spring semester textbooks and my parents' car insurance. I was completely tapped out. I sat in that greasy waiting room and I started to cry. Not loud, just silent, hot tears. I had to make a call. I had to call my mother, not to ask for money. I knew better. I had to call to tell her I couldn't pay her electricity bill that month. I dialed the number. My hand was shaking. "Hi, Mom." "Ava, good. Listen, Chloe needs money for her sorority formal. She needs the dress and tickets. It's about $500. Can you send it to her?" She's frantic. I closed my eyes. Mom, I said, my voice thick. I can't. Silence. Then her voice turned cold. What do you mean you can't? My car, it's broken. The transmission, it's $3,000. I don't have it. I have to figure it out. I can't pay for Chloe's dress. And I can't pay your power bill this week. I waited for her to say, oh my God, Ava, are you okay? I waited for, don't worry, we'll figure it out. I waited for, how will you get to work? Instead, she sighed. It was the loudest, most annoyed sigh I have ever heard. Ava, really? Always something. You know Chloe is counting on this. It's very important to her. My car is broken, Mom. I can't get to work. This is important to me. Then she said the line that finally showed me the truth. We're all struggling, Ava, she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. But you're the one who manages money better than us. You'll figure it out. Don't let Chloe down. She hung up. I sat there. The mechanic was looking at me through the window. I felt empty. She didn't see me. She saw a spreadsheet that was suddenly short. She saw an ATM that was out of order. I stood up. I wiped my face. Okay, I said to the mechanic. I'll have to put it on a credit card. I paid for my car. And 2 days later, I paid for Chloe's dress. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to say no. I realized the truth. I wasn't their daughter. I was their financial plan. The dinner was 2 weeks later. It was my mother's 55th birthday. She chose the restaurant. It was called The Cypress. It was the kind of place with white tablecloths, heavy silver, and waiters in black vests. The kind of place where the prices weren't on the menu. I knew what that meant. It meant I was paying. I felt sick all day. I thought about calling in sick. I thought about just not going. But the guilt was too strong. It was my mother's birthday. If I didn't go, I would be ruining her special night. That was a crime I wasn't allowed to commit. I drove there after work. I didn't even have time to change out of my practical work blouse and slacks. I walked in. They were already there. At the best table by the window. My dad, looking uncomfortable in a suit jacket. My mom in a new silk dress laughing too loudly. And Chloe. She was wearing a stunning, slinky gold dress. She was with a new boyfriend. He looked rich. He was the new audience for their performance. Ava. You're here! My mother called out. Her voice was bright and false. I sat down. Happy birthday, Mom. Thank you, sweetie. She didn't look at me. She was already telling a story to Chloe's boyfriend. My dad just gave me a little wave. A half-hearted wave. He was already retreating. The dinner was a blur. It was exactly what I knew it would be. A performance. My mother talked about their recent trip to the coast. I paid for the gas. Chloe talked about her impossible professor. I paid for the class. They gossiped. They laughed. They made small, sharp digs that were disguised as jokes. Ava, you look tired, my mother said, touching her own perfect hair. You should really take more time for yourself. She can't, Mom, Chloe chimed in, not looking up from her phone. She's too busy working. She said working like it was a dirty word. The new boyfriend chuckled. A girl's got to make a living. Yes, my mother said. We're so lucky Ava is so practical. I don't know what we'd do without her. I just smiled. I moved a piece of fish around my plate. It cost $60. I didn't taste it. I felt like a ghost. I was just a wallet sitting in a chair, waiting to be opened. Then, the moment came. The waiter, silent and smooth, placed the check in the exact center of the table. Silence fell. My mother took a sip of her wine. Chloe suddenly became fascinated by her own fingernails. My dad studied a water glass. No one moved. The check just sat there. It was a test. And I was the only one who could fail. My heart was pounding. I thought about my broken car. I thought about the credit card bill. I thought about my empty savings account. I took a small breath. I kept my voice soft. Maybe someone else can cover this time. It was so quiet. I could hear the ice shifting in my dad's glass. Then, Chloe laughed. It was a loud, sharp, ugly laugh. You? She said, looking right at me. You can't. You can barely afford your salad. The new boyfriend snickered. My mother smiled. A tight, mean little smile. She reached over and patted my hand. Not you, honey, she said, as if she were correcting a child. You're broke. Laughter. My father, my mother, my sister, and her new boyfriend. They all laughed. My face was on fire. The humiliation was so thick I couldn't breathe. I looked at my mother. She was smiling. She thought it was funny. To call me broke. Me. The one paying for the very food in her mouth. I didn't say anything. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't list all the bills I paid. I just pulled my hand back from hers. I reached into my purse. I pulled out my credit card, the one that funded their lives. I placed it on the bill. The waiter took it. No one said thank you. We walked out of the restaurant. The air was cold. My mother went to Chloe first. She gave her a long, warm hug. "Thank you for coming, sweetie. You look so beautiful." Then she turned to me. She gave me a stiff, one-armed pat on the shoulder. She leaned in. I thought she was going to apologize. I thought she was going to say thank you, she whispered in my ear. "Don't make a big deal out of money, Ava. It's tacky." I got in my car. I drove home. I was shaking. I was shaking so hard I could barely hold the steering wheel, but I was quiet. I was completely, totally quiet. I knew the game was over. I knew I was done. I got home. I locked my door. The shaking finally stopped. I sat on my couch in my practical work clothes. I didn't turn on the light. I just sat in the dark. The streetlights outside cast long shadows on the floor. I thought about her whisper. It's tacky. I was tacky. For feeling the humiliation. For paying for her $500 dinner. For funding her entire life. I was the tacky one. My apartment, the one I paid for, felt like the only safe place on earth. And then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. It lit up the dark room. A text message. From Mom. I stared at it. I already knew it wouldn't be an apology. I knew it wouldn't be a thank you. I picked it up. You're just jealous and broke. Don't ruin my evening again. I read it. I read it again. And just like I told you, something in me finally stopped. The part of me that was always hoping. The part that thought if I just tried harder, if I just gave more, they would finally love me. That part died. Right there on the couch, I stood up. I walked to my desk. I turned on the small green lamp. I looked at the stack of bills I had set aside. The bills I had planned to pay tomorrow. The power bill for their house. The water bill for their house. The cable and internet bill for their house. I opened my desk drawer. I pulled out a thick green folder. The label on it said, Collins, Family Accounts. I opened it. My whole life as their accountant was in this folder. Every login. Every password. Every account number. I saw the mortgage portal. My name was on the account. I was a co-signer. My mother had said it was just a formality to get a better rate. But I was the only one who had ever logged in. I was the only one who had ever made a payment. For 6 years, I saw the utilities. Electricity, water, gas. All under Ava Collins' primary holder. I had set them up. It's just easier, Ava. You're so good with computers. I saw the phone plan. 4 lines. All on my account. All linked to my credit. I saw the credit card statements. The emergency card. The one my mother used for groceries. The one she used for dinners. The one she used for the new silk dress she wore tonight. The one I had just paid off at the Cypress. All of it. Funding their comfort. Funding their performance. They called me broke. They called me jealous. I wasn't jealous. I was exhausted. I was bled dry. And I realized something. I didn't need to fight them. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to send a long, angry text message back to my mother listing my sacrifices. She wouldn't get it. She would just call me dramatic. I didn't need to prove I was right. I didn't need them to understand. I just needed to stop. I didn't need to save them anymore. I looked at the folder. I looked at the bills. I looked at the glowing screen of my laptop. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at my desk. I watched the city lights go out, one by one. I thought about every thank you I never got. I thought about every time I was called reliable instead of loved. I thought about Chloe's gold dress. I thought about my $3,000 car repair. The sun started to come up. The sky turned a faint watery gray. The anger was gone. The hurt was still there. It would be there for a long time, but it was quiet. And underneath the hurt was something new. It was resolve. I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't their guardian angel. I wasn't their financial plan. I was just done. The sun came up. The gray light of morning filled my apartment. I had not slept. I got up from my desk. I walked to my kitchen. I felt steady. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hysterical. I was just done. The long night of sitting in the dark, staring at my mother's text message, had burned away all the fog. It had burned away the guilt. It had burned away the hope. All that was left was the truth. I made coffee. I listened to the sound of the water heating up. I listened to the drip of the coffee into the pot. These were normal sounds. They were my sounds in my apartment. I poured the coffee into my favorite mug. It was a plain white mug. It wasn't fancy. It was just mine. I took the mug to my desk. I sat down. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up. I had my folder, Collins, family accounts. I opened it. The first thing I saw was the phone plan. My name, Ava Collins, at the top. And underneath, the other users, Diana Collins, Ray Collins, Chloe Collins. I looked at the data usage. Chloe had used almost 50 gigabytes. My mother was not far behind. My line, the primary line, had used almost none. I clicked on Manage Account. I saw the list of names again. Beside each name was a small blue link. Remove user from account. My hand hovered over the mouse. I thought about all the calls, all the texts, all the Ava, can you look this up for me? All the Ava, my phone is acting weird. I thought about my mother's text. You're just jealous and broke. I clicked the link next to Chloe Collins. A box popped up. Are you sure you want to remove this user? Their line will be deactivated in 10 minutes. I clicked Confirm. I did the same for Ray Collins. Confirm. I did the same for Diana Collins. Confirm. A few seconds later, 3 emails arrived in my inbox. Confirmation. A user has been removed from your account. Confirmation. A user has been removed from your account. Confirmation. A user has been removed from your account. It was that simple. I sipped my coffee. It was hot. It felt good. Next, I opened the utility portal for their house. The electric bill, the water bill, the gas bill, all under Ava Collins' primary holder. I went to the Payments tab. I saw autopay scheduled for the 5th of the month. I saw my bank account number. I clicked Edit. I clicked Disable Autopay. A red warning appeared. Disabling autopay may result in late fees or service interruption. Are you sure? Yes. I clicked Manage Accounts. I clicked Remove Saved Payment Method. I deleted my bank account number. Are you sure? Yes. I did the same for the water bill. I did the same for the gas bill. Now, if the bills were to be paid, someone would have to actively go in, log in, and enter a new card number. Someone would have to choose to pay it, but they didn't have the password. So I logged out. And I clicked Forgot Password. I entered my email. I got a reset link. I clicked it. I changed the password to a string of random numbers and letters. A password I would never even remember. I didn't write it down. I had just turned off their power, their water, and their heat. Not with a switch. But with a password, I felt a small twinge. A cold feeling. This is too far. What if the pipes freeze? What if they're in the dark? I looked at the text on my phone. Don't ruin my evening again. My evening was already ruined. My life was ruined. My finances were ruined. My twinge of guilt disappeared. This was not cruelty. This was a consequence. Next, the big one. The mortgage. I logged into the bank portal. My name, Ava Collins, cosigner. My mother's name was on it too. But I was the only one with the online login. I was the one who had set it up. I saw the balance. It was huge. It made me sick. I saw the next payment, due in 1 week. I couldn't remove myself as a cosigner. Not without a long legal process. But I could stop the bleeding. I went to the payment settings. I disabled the autopay. I removed my bank account. Then I went to security settings. I changed the login password. I changed the security questions. What was your first pet's name? I wrote broke. What was your mother's maiden name? I wrote jealous. They would never guess. They would never get in. They would get a letter in the mail, but by then the payment would be late. They would have to call the bank, and the bank would say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Collins, but we can only speak to the primary account holder for this online portal, Ava Collins. Finally, the credit cards. The emergency card. The one my mother used for the silk dress. The one that paid for the cypress. I logged in. I saw the authorized users, Diana Collins, Chloe Collins. I didn't even hesitate. I clicked Manage Users. I clicked Remove Authorized User. A message popped up. This user's card will be deactivated immediately. I clicked confirm. I did it again for Chloe. Confirm. I leaned back in my chair. The sun was now fully in my window. My apartment was bright. I took a deep breath, and it felt new. It was the first breath I had taken in years that wasn't heavy. It felt like air was actually reaching the bottom of my lungs. Just to be sure, I picked up my phone. I called the number on the back of the credit card. A woman answered. "Thank you for calling. This is Maria. How can I help you?" "Hello," I said. My voice was clear. "I am the primary cardholder, Ava Collins. I have just removed 2 authorized users, Diana and Chloe Collins. I am calling to confirm that their physical cards are now frozen and deactivated." "Yes, one moment, Miss Collins." I heard typing. "Yes, I see that. The accounts for Diana and Chloe Collins are now closed. They will not be able to make any further purchases. Is there anything else I can help you with?" "No, that's all. Just to confirm, you are the sole owner on this account, correct?" I almost laughed. "Yes," I said. "That's the problem. I am the sole owner." "Very good, Miss Collins. Have a nice day." I hung up. I closed my laptop. My coffee was cold, but I drank it anyway. The silence in my apartment was thick, but it wasn't the heavy, anxious silence from last night. It was a new silence. It was clean. It was liberating. For the first time in my life, I was not responsible for anyone but myself. The machine was broken, and I was the only one who knew how to fix it. And I was never going to fix it again. The next 3 days were the quietest of my life. My phone didn't buzz with emergencies. No texts from Chloe asking for money. No calls from my mother asking why a bill was so high. It was just quiet. I went to work. I focused. I came home. I read a book. I felt like I was holding my breath. I was waiting. They hadn't noticed. Of course they hadn't. Why would they? The lights were still on. The water was still running. Their cards were still in their wallets. They didn't think about those things. They just expected them to work. They didn't know that the grace period on the utilities was ending. They didn't know the next time they swiped that card, it would be declined. The day came. It was my mother's actual 55th birthday. She was having another dinner. A real one, she had called it, with her fancy friends. The dinner at the Cypress had just been the family celebration, the one she let me pay for. This new one was at an even nicer place, the Monarch Room. I knew this because Chloe posted about it. I was sitting on my couch eating leftover takeout. I opened my phone. There it was, a picture on Instagram. My mother, Chloe, and about 10 of their friends, all raising champagne glasses. They were at a long table. There were chandeliers. Chloe's caption said, "Happy 55th to the most amazing, generous, and beautiful mom in the world. You deserve everything." My mother commented, "I love you, my golden girl." I looked at the picture. My mother was wearing new pearls. I felt that old familiar sting. They didn't even miss me. They didn't even wonder where I was. I was the scaffolding. And now that the party was starting, they had taken me down. For a second, I felt stupid. I felt small. What did I even do? It didn't matter. They're fine. I put my phone down. I told myself it didn't matter. I ate my noodles. I decided to take a bath. I was in the tub when my phone started to buzz. It was on the counter, face up. A text from Chloe. "Hey, are you coming?" I ignored it. Another text. "Mom's asking where you are. Are you trying to be dramatic?" I watched the phone. Then a call. "Chloe Collins." I let it ring. It stopped. Immediately another call. "Chloe Collins." I let it ring. It stopped. A new call. "Mom." I watched it. It rang and rang and rang. The voicemail icon popped up. Immediately another call. "Mom!" Ring, ring, ring. Then Dad. Then Mom again. Then Chloe. The phone didn't stop. It was a constant vibration on the tile counter. Buzz, buzz, buzz. It was a frantic, angry hornet's nest. I just sat in the water. I watched. It was like a machine gun. A call would end, and before the screen could even dim, a new one would start. Mom, Chloe. Mom, Dad, Mom, Mom, Mom. The calls kept coming. I started to count them, 10, 20, 50. It was insane. I couldn't help it. I started to imagine the scene. I closed my eyes. I could see it. My mother laughing with her friends. The waiter placing the check in front of her. She pulls out the emergency card. The one I pay for. The one she always uses. She hands it to him. He comes back. He leans down. He's polite. I'm sorry, Mrs. Collins. This card has been declined. My mother's smile freezes. What? That's impossible. Run it again. The waiter's polite smile. I've run it twice, ma'am. It's declined. Her friends are watching. The table is quiet. That's fine, my mother says. Her voice is tight. Chloe, sweetie, give me your card. Chloe, annoyed, digging in her purse. Oh, fine. You're going to pay me back. She hands her card to the waiter. The card I also pay for. The waiter goes. He comes back. I'm sorry, miss. This one is also declined. Now it's panic. What is wrong with you? My mother hisses at Chloe. Me? What's wrong with you? Her friends are all looking. They are whispering. Diana, is everything all right? One of them asks. It's fine. My mother snaps. It's just the bank. They've made a mistake. She fumbles for her phone. She opens her banking app. She tries to log in. Password incorrect. She tries again. Password incorrect. She clicks. Forgot password. She enters her email. No link arrives. Because the account is tied to my email. She pulls up the credit card app. She sees the balance. She sees the notification. Account update. Authorized users Diana Collins and Chloe Collins have been removed by the primary cardholder. She sees it. Primary cardholder, Ava Collins. The blood drains from her face. She knows. Her friends are staring. The waiter is staring. The bill is unpaid. She looks at Chloe. She looks at my father. Call Ava. Call her now. The phone on my counter was still buzzing. It was frantic. I got out of the tub. I wrapped myself in a towel. The calls didn't stop. I walked into my living room. The phone was buzzing so hard it was moving across the counter. I picked it up. 92 missed calls. And a dozen texts. Pick up the phone. What did you do? This isn't funny, Ava. You are ruining everything. Mom is crying. How could you do this to us? Call me now. I looked at the phone. I put it on the coffee table, face down. The buzzing was muffled, but it continued. I went to the kitchen. I boiled water. I made a cup of chamomile tea. I sat on my couch. I listened to the muffled, furious vibration from the table. I took a sip of my tea. Their world was unraveling. Mine was finally completely quiet. The next morning, I woke up to silence. My phone was dead. The frantic buzzing from last night had drained the entire battery. I plugged it in. I went to make coffee. When I came back, I turned it on. The boot-up screen appeared. And then, the flood. It was a dam breaking. Bing. 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 Bing, bing, bing. A waterfall of notifications, texts, missed calls, and voicemails. So many voicemails. I sat at my kitchen table. I drank my coffee, and I decided to listen. I wanted to hear it. I needed to hear it. I pressed the first one. It was from Mom, from last night. Her voice was high, hysterical. Ava! Ava, pick up the phone. What did you do? What did you do? The card was declined. In front of everyone. My friends, Robert. I have never been so embarrassed in my entire life. You call me back this instant. This is, I don't know what you did, but you will fix it. Click. I deleted it. The next one. Chloe. She was sobbing. I cannot believe you. You ruined Mom's birthday. She was crying. Dad had to call his brother to pay the bill. His brother. Everyone was staring at us. You did this on purpose. You are a sick, jealous, a long, gasping sob. I hate you. I hate you. Click. I deleted it. The next one. Dad. His voice was quiet, awkward. He sounded tired. Ava, it's Dad. Listen, your mother is very, very upset. I think you'd better call her. This has gone too far. We're home and, Ava, the lights are off. The power is out. I don't know what's going on. I think you need to call the power company. Just call. Click. I deleted it. The next one. Mom again. This morning, the hysteria was gone. It was replaced by something else. A cold, hard rage. Ava Collins, I don't know what kind of sick game you are playing. The power is out. The water is off. The internet is off. The phone you are holding in your hand, I paid for. I almost laughed at that. She paid for it. And you are going to turn everything back on. This isn't funny. This is stealing. You are stealing from us. I am going to call the police if you don't call me back in 1 hour. Click. I deleted it. She wouldn't call the police. The police would ask, "Ma'am, whose name is on the account?" And she would have to say, "Ava's." And they would say, "Then it's not stealing. It's her account." She knew that. She was just flailing. I listened to 6 more. They were all the same: anger, panic, demands. Not one of them said, "Ava, are you okay?" Not one of them said, "What's wrong?" Not one of them said, "We're sorry." They weren't sad that I was hurt. They were just furious that the machine had stopped working. I stopped listening. I went to the voicemail app and hit delete all. My inbox was clean. I finished my coffee. Then a new text came in. It was from Chloe. "You're just doing this to make Mom look stupid." I looked at that text for a long time. The old Ava. The old Ava would have typed a novel. The old Ava would have listed every bill, every sacrifice, every dinner, every broken, jealous comment. The old Ava would have begged her to understand. I picked up the phone. I typed out a reply. She did that herself. My thumb hovered over the send button. I felt the familiar rush, the need to be right, the need to win the argument, and then I let out a long breath. What was the point? What would it change? She wouldn't read it. She wouldn't get it. It would just be another fight. It would just be Ava being dramatic again. I had spent my entire life explaining. I was done explaining. My silence was my answer. My silence was the one thing they couldn't argue with. I deleted the text. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I left it on the table. I went for a walk. It was a Saturday. The sun was out. I went to the farmer's market. I bought fresh bread and some tomatoes. I came home. I made myself lunch. The calls had stopped. They had finally given up. My apartment was filled with sunlight and peace. It was over. On Sunday, I did my finances. I sat at my desk. I opened my bank app. It was beautiful. My paycheck was in, and it was all there. There was no $500 transfer to Chloe. There was no $200 transfer to the mortgage. There was no $300 transfer to the utility company. The number in my savings account, it was growing. It was all mine. The numbers were clean. They were simple. For the first time in my adult life, my own ledger was balanced. A week went by. A whole week of silence. It was strange. At first, I kept checking my phone. I was waiting for the next attack, the next wave of anger, but nothing came. I went to work. I came home. I paid my bills. I went to the gym. I was living. I was starting to feel normal. I was starting to breathe. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed. I was at my desk at work. I glanced at it. Voicemail from Mom. My stomach twisted. I stared at it. I hadn't heard from them in 8 days. My first instinct was to delete it. Just swipe it away, but I didn't. Part of me needed to know. I waited until I got home. I sat on my couch. I put the phone on speaker. I hit play. It wasn't her angry voice. It wasn't her hysterical voice. It was a voice I had never heard before. It was small. It was soft. It was trembling. "Ava, it's Mom." A long pause. I heard her take a shaky breath. "Ava, please, we didn't realize." Another pause. "We didn't realize how much you handled, honey. I went to the bank. I tried to talk to them about the mortgage. They wouldn't talk to me." Her voice cracked. They said my name was on it, but that all the online access, all the payment history, it's all tied to you. They said only you can unlock the accounts. They wouldn't even take a check from me, Ava." I closed my eyes. I knew this was coming. "Listen, I know you're angry," she whispered. "You have a right to be angry. I know I said things, but the house payment is due. It's late now. They're adding fees. We just need to pay a few things. We need to get the lights back on. Your father, he's not doing well." I felt the old familiar pull. The guilt? It was a physical thing, like a hook in my chest. He's not doing well. I'm hurting my dad. She's finally getting it. And then she delivered the final blow, the one that was aimed right at my heart. She started. She was crying now, softly. I know I don't say it. "And your father and I, we're proud of you, Ava. We always have been. Even if you don't believe it. You're so strong. You've always been our strong one. A sniffle. Please, just call me. Just help us with this one thing. Then you can be angry all you want. Please. Click. The message ended. The silence in my apartment was deafening. And I was crying. The tears I hadn't shed at the restaurant. The tears I hadn't shed when I got the text. They were coming now. Hot, angry, painful tears. Because this was it. This was the one thing I had wanted to hear my entire life. I'm proud of you. My hand was shaking. I picked up the phone. I listened to the message again. I'm proud of you, Ava. Even if you don't believe it. The hook was in deep. My finger moved to call back. I just wanted to hear her say it again. I just wanted it to be true. I could just pay the mortgage. Just this once. Just to help Dad. She said she was sorry. She said I had a right to be angry. She learned her lesson, didn't she? I stopped. I wiped my face. I listened to the message a third time. But this time, I wasn't listening with my heart. I was listening like an accountant. I was listening for the facts. What did she actually say? We didn't realize how much you handled. Translation, we didn't know how. The magic trick worked, only you can unlock the accounts. Translation, we need you to turn the key. We just need to pay a few things. Translation, we need you to go back to being our bank. I'm proud of you. Translation, this is the magic word. This is the one that's always worked. I stared at the phone. This wasn't an apology. It was a strategy. It was the last tool in her toolbox. She had tried anger. She had tried panic. She had tried veiled threats. None of it worked. So she pulled out the one weapon she had left. She pulled out the love I had always been starving for. She was holding I'm proud of you hostage. And the ransom was the mortgage payment. I realized the truth. If I called back, if I paid that bill, I would be teaching her that this worked. That all my boundaries, all my pain, could be bought for the price of a few soft words. The next time this happened, she would just get to the I'm proud of you faster. It would never stop. My tears dried. The shaking stopped. This was the real test. Not the 92 calls. Not the anger. The quiet, desperate plea that sounded so much like love. I looked at the message on my phone. Voicemail from Mom. Some apologies come too late. And some aren't apologies at all. My finger moved. I pressed delete. The voicemail vanished. I got up. I went to the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water. I drank it. The hook in my chest was gone. I was free. The next morning, I woke up, and for the first time, I didn't check my phone. I got dressed. I put on my running shoes. I went outside. It was a cool spring morning. The air was clean. The sun was just starting to hit the pavement. I started to run. I ran through my neighborhood. I saw people walking their dogs. I saw kids going to school. I wasn't thinking about mortgages. I wasn't thinking about utility bills. I wasn't thinking about my mother's voice. I was just running. I could feel my feet on the concrete. I could feel the air in my lungs. And I realized I wasn't angry. The hot, burning rage was gone. The cold, simmering resentment was gone. I didn't feel anything. No, that's not true. I felt peace. I felt a huge, empty, beautiful peace. I stopped at the park. I sat on a bench. I watched the city wake up. I thought about what my mother had always said. She loved the word power. She loved having it. She loved using it. Her power was in drama, in manipulation, in making people feel small. She once told me during a fight about money, "You'll never understand real power, Ava. You're too soft. You're a checkbook, not a person." I smiled. I looked at the sun coming up over the buildings. "You were right, Mom," I whispered to the empty air. I didn't understand. Not your kind of power. My power was different. My power wasn't loud. It was quiet. My power was a deleted voicemail. My power was a changed password. My power was a clean bank account. My power was the word no, a no that I didn't have to scream. I just had to live it. I walked home. I made my coffee. I sat at my desk. I opened my laptop. I looked at my accounts one last time. No shared bills. No authorized users. No names but mine. It wasn't revenge. Revenge is hot and angry. It wants to see the other person suffer. I didn't want them to suffer. I just wanted them to pay their own bills. I wanted them to be responsible for their own lives, so I could finally be responsible for mine. This wasn't payback. It was recovery. I don't know what happened to them. I assume they had to sell the house. I assume Chloe had to get a job. I assume my father had to finally participate in his own life. It's sad. It's sad that they built a life they couldn't afford. It's sad that they used me as their foundation, and when I stepped away, the whole thing fell down. But it wasn't my house. It was just my name, and I've taken my name back. They called me jealous and broke. I'm not jealous. I'm just separate, and I'm not broke. Not anymore. My savings account is growing. I'm taking a vacation next month. To the beach. I'm just done. I'm done paying the price for other people's peace. I'm done being the reliable one. I'm done being the invisible scaffolding. My family had roles. And I have quit my job. If you've ever had to do this, if you've ever had to draw a line with your own family, you're not cruel. You're not selfish. You're not tacky. You're just free.